Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have the EPA might just get rid of that crap they forced upon us, known as the stop feature in vehicles. Another Trump win as we get more deregulation, perhaps. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, and specifically, this is credited to Jeff Perez, saying, quote, the EPA vows to fix most cars' annoying feature. The dreaded stop-start function found in most modern cars is getting a second look from the EPA. Which, yeah, one of the reasons our cars suck these days is because of the EPA. One of the reasons they're so unreliable, EPA. Believe it or not, back in the day, the Jeep was actually a reliable vehicle. Long time ago, that straight six engine, that was darn near bulletproof. But the EPA hates emissions, unless you're in India or China. They can do whatever they want, of course. So you had to get that crappy engine thrown in there. And to this day, one of the most unreliable pieces of junk on the planet is the Jeep. Though the culture is so strong around the brand, people still buy it, surprisingly. And yeah, one of the reasons I would never want a modern car is the stupid start-stop button, where it's a quote-unquote feature, where if you're blessed and you have a car that does not have this crap, simply put, when your car stops at a stoplight, it turns off the engine. In some cases, turning off the AC. Yeah, because it'll save a little bit of gasoline, and it'll do a little less emissions. However, any mechanic with a modicum of intelligence will tell you that's so much worse for the engine. Just like comparing someone to running a marathon and not stopping versus stopping and starting and stopping and starting. You're putting more wear and tear on that engine because you're having it doing the cylinder deactivation. Some cars, like GM, the ultimate example of unreliability, they'll have the car that actually will deactivate some cylinders when you're driving it, so a V8 will become a V4, which is an abomination in of itself. But yeah, it's just more complexity in the engines, and it wears down more quickly, and really just annoying as hell. Thankfully, the third market or aftermarket prevails, so again, not legal advice, but there are ways to bypass this factory-built crap, which again, only exists because these automotive companies are bullied by the EPA. Now, diving into the specifics of the article, they say, quote, automatic start-stop is arguably the most annoying feature of any new car. It essentially shuts off your engine for short periods as long as your foot is on the brake, while keeping basic functions like air conditioning and radio running. Sometimes, I'll never forget the dumbest car ever, the Honda Fit, which Honda usually makes great cars, they actually did turn off the AC because of this feature. Yeah, let's just say one of my friends moved to Texas, quickly sold that vehicle, because that is the definition of insufferable, not having AC in Texas in your car. Now, you also say once you let your foot off the brake, the engine then kicks back on. Automakers introduced this function in an effort to improve fuel economy, but the EPA wants it to stop. The head of EPA, Lee Zeldin, sent a post on X, formerly Twitter, saying that an agency is fixing technology that everyone hates. Which, yeah, again, that dreaded, if you see that button in a vehicle, you know it's going to suck. Not all the time, but there's high propensity, which is sad because even the Honda Civic Si was kneecapped with that button. Again, thankfully, there's tech you can plug in and bypass this, not legal advice, but you shouldn't have to do that to a car that is yours and your own. Now, he says, quote, start-stop technology, where your car dies at every red light so companies can get climate participation trophy. EPA will approve it and everyone hates it, so we're fixing it. Which, again, God bless deregulation. If they can get rid of this crap, modern vehicles might be a little bit better. That'd be so much nicer. Imagine not having to press that button every time you get in your vehicle, or not having to buy a $100 accessory to plug into your vehicle and bypass that crap so you don't have to worry about it. Now, they say, quote, start-stop technology isn't new. It's been around since the 1970s and grew more popular in the 1980s. But it wasn't until the mid-2000s that the auto stop start really took off in the US. Although it was never technically mandated by EPA, automakers who did implement the start-stop in their vehicles would receive carbon credits under the Obama administration. And I did mispronounce it just to be an futile attempt to be funny. Now, again, this is another example of, legally and technically they're not forcing upon us. Just like how technically they're not forcing companies to make EVs. They're not forcing you to stop making gas engines. However, it's a de facto ban, just like this was de facto forced upon us, because in this case, they get carbon credits. Just like with the EVs being forced upon us by automakers, they're forced to make them because of fleet mandates or fleet averages and emission averages. Simply put, if you have a fleet of vehicles, you have to have a certain arbitrary number the EPA pulls out of their rear, otherwise they get fined. Ford almost had to pay, was it $1.7 billion because their fuel economy average for the fleet wasn't up to the EPA standards. The same thing happens with emissions. So it is a de facto ban on the gas engine, which I would argue, you want a car that actually lasts more than 10 years and it actually has the right to repair, gas engine beats EV 100 times. No, a gajillion times or more. Now, going back to the specifics of the article, they also say, quote, Currently, around 65% of new cars sold in the US have automatic start-stop function, according to Axios. That's up from an estimated 60% in 2020. Ouch. Annoying as it may be, according to now deleted proper paper by the EPA, automatic stop-start helps reduce fleet-wide CTO emissions at a rate of about 2. Oh yeah, again, it's the fleet emissions by 2.2 gallons a mile. Yeah. That's great. Not every vehicle is going to die early because of this crap. A second study by the Department of Energy showed automatic start-stop yields real-world improvements in emissions and fuel savings. Yeah, but if you're getting your paycheck to paycheck, do you give a shit? I'm part of the French, but because the government steals so much from us, again, Republicans and Democrats with all the taxes, a lot of people are just trying to make it paycheck to paycheck. And heaven forbid, when your car has an issue, it costs a pretty penny to fix it. When your car prematurely breaks because of additional wear and tear, I don't think they really care about extra couple gallons of smog in the air, especially when relative to the globe, it's nothing compared to India and China manufacturing. But I partially digress. Now, you say the SAE International estimates that cite driving and automatic stop-start equipment yield savings as high as 26%. Unclear why Zeldin and the EPA plans to quote-unquote fix the start-start technology rather than simply doing away with it entirely. Which again, that's what they should do. The EPA would likely receive more information in the next few months. The good news is that there's already a fix for automatic start-stop. They can do it at home. Just turn it off. That is such a Motor1.com. Just turn it off. I shouldn't have to do that crap if I own the vehicle. Every time you get in, you gotta click that stupid button. That was the dumbest thing about the Chevy. No, what was it? When I did work in corporate America, I had the somewhat privilege of getting a company car. I say somewhat privileged because you had to write a check to the company because it wasn't the base Ford Focus. I got the Ford Escape, which is, the fancy way of saying the Ford Escape. And it had this crap. Allegedly, there's a way to bypass that. Of course, I would never do that. What was it? That was 10 plus years ago. Who gives a shit? So, yeah, I was going to say you can bypass that crap by plugging, certain things you can do with the vehicle. But yeah, when I first got it, every time you get in the vehicle, you got to click that stupid button. So you have to deal with that stupid thing turning off every time you get to red light. Yeah. Now, scrolling down, one of the top comments comes to us thanks to Nick Kadiri saying, quote, this is Trump. Ooh, interesting. Contrarian statement. Quote, or perhaps this is Trump meddling in every aspect of American life because of his unfounded beliefs like plastic straws. Start-stop should be required in every car. This is communist. But it should also come with a consumer override. If you want to pay more for gas and pollute the air while sitting at light, fine with me. But benefits clearly outweigh the convenience. I can't believe how much political influence has stepped into everything we know. This crap only exists because of political influence. The most regulated thing we buy in the United States, I actually believe more than pharmaceuticals, are automobiles. I mean, Elon famously said there's like a room of file, or literally a room of files for all the regulations of the auto community. It's insane and asinine. And yeah, I would argue most of it, it's not, I always joke that government, I tell people the government, they don't make cars for you, they make cars for the government. Because they really do. Because they know you're forced to buy it. You have to get one. The only way you can get a car from another country is if it's 25 years old. Or you get a showcase or exemption. But again, that's very small sample size. Now, Ghetto Princess responded saying, quote, 90% of people hate auto stop, start, and turn on. And every time they start their car, not to mention it ruins your starter by literally frying it to the start quicker. There's no logic to having it run if only small groups of people actually keep it on. It's actually more of an inconvenience than anything. Precisely. And also, it increases the cost and complexity of the vehicle. Which again, I'm an old soul. I want my car to be really, really simple so it's easy to fix and it'll last longer. I mean, shoot. I would argue the only modern convenience I really appreciate is heated seats, which you could debate are not modern because I believe Cadillac had that patent in the 50s or 60s. The specific year eludes me at the moment. But yeah, other top comments comes from Damien saying, quote, the annoying problem is that you have to turn off the start-stop every time you start your car. Yes, making it just impossible to turn off permanently. Again, you can with the third-party gear. He says, the best mod I did in my Golf GTI was buy an OB11 and permanently disable the start-stop. Worst feature ever. This guy's got it. He's thinking right. The only positive that cars equipped with start-stop have a stronger AGM battery. Should last longer than conventional batteries as long as they're not using that start-stop. So a couple more 10, 20 comments. This is one of the most commented article on Motor1.com in the whole year. Just saying something. Trying to see one or two more. Any contrarian ones. Mark says, this doesn't have anything to do about saving the environment, not carbon emission. It's about added expense to the overall cost of the car, ownership, and environment. Yep. So hopefully they just make it a law that says you do not have to put all this crap in a car. And they will actually make cars that last longer. But I'm a little pessimistic, but who knows? Maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Let me know. Have you ever seen one of these in your vehicle? And I feel sorry if you do. If you have that, how annoying is it to press that button every single time? I did that for about 3 or 4 weeks when I had my corporate car, and I hated it every single day until I fixed the problem. It's sad. I mean, even a Honda Civic Si, which definitely shouldn't have this crap, the newest Gen 10 has this in their vehicles, which is ridiculous. And hopefully they'll fix that with the Gen 11. But we'll see. Let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.